7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, and welcome to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We got the virtual Zoom studio, myself and Tony Johnson running a two-man operation here, and we are back. If you didn't catch our golf podcast, then we are back for the first time since the Super Bowl props podcast, and we always have fun combing through the Bible and the other four Bibles. What do we call those? The King James versions of that, but. Yeah, we're gonna recap Super Bowl 55 here. We don't have Token Tony, we don't have Spike on the podcast, but Tony, just I know you and I have talked, but for people listening, just we didn't see it going that way.
No, anyone that I've talked to, and it's not at least a large handful of people, but certainly a nice, small, good collected unit of people that really are big football fans and or big bettors, and nobody really had the thought that it could go this badly. More so for Kansas City, I think certainly the expectation that Tampa would be able to score and move the ball and certainly run the ball. I think that was relatively common, but no touchdowns for Kansas City is a really, really, really big surprise. We expected, I know we'll get into this maybe in a little bit, but we certainly expected, with the offensive line shuffling, that Kansas City, could struggle a little bit. But they of course always come up with something, an extra week to prepare, for a coach of Andy Reid's caliber. We expected them to get over the hump, and it never happened throughout the entire game. So
coming off a bye week,
Yes.
Andy Reid off a bye week, that's the big MO, and
Agreed.
And I mean, do you think he was outclassed? Or was it just the execution on the field? Or, a lot of people are pointing to Todd Bowles. He shot up. We talked about this during the last podcast about the Super Bowl. You talked about Bieniemy and Leftwich, and I said I think Todd Bowles might be, a name to look out for, and not to, not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm just saying, like, the way, Patrick Mahomes said it, he's never been beaten like that in his life.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how much this had to do with it, but I do think that car crash with Andy Reid's son, 3 days before the Super Bowl, whatever it was, it looked like the team was a little bit deer in headlights kind of thing. It just seemed like it had an effect, on the team. Again, I don't know how much. We probably never know. I'm sure the players, aren't necessarily willing to talk about that or, why they were so flat. But it just felt like a team that was flat. In a situation like that, we haven't seen that very often. I know there was 20 years ago, there was some guy, some sort of prostitution thing, whatever, and that team came out really flat too, the Raiders or something like that. But yeah, it's just, you don't see that very often, right before the Super Bowl, a major event, and it's a big deal. So that, I think, added on to the really big offensive line, issues. It was a bigger issue than I think, really was expected. And I'm sure they even expected it. That is kind of, I think those two together were really kind of the main, issues, that I saw. And obviously not really being able to stop the run on defense was a really, really big problem because Tampa controlled the narrative. They controlled the narrative entirely on offense. And that's just, it's hard to win games, when your defense is always on its heels.
Yeah, and just everything that transpired, that situation with Britt Reid, I feel like there was an issue with him in the past too, or one of Andy Reid's kids. It might have been him that had some substance abuse issues or alcoholism issues.
And then I believe one of his other sons, committed suicide. I believe as well. Yeah, he's unfortunately had some issues with a few of his kids. So yeah, it's he had a DUI before Britt did. So yeah, this is his second one. And then there was an injury in the first one, not a major injury, but second one with an injury. And this is his life is not in good shape. No question about that. Yeah, not to put it mildly, but yeah, he will be away for a long time, I would guess.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate,
It is.
for him and for the Reed family and for the family and the victims of the car crash. Absolutely. So, Tony, I need you to do me a favor, though. Okay, I need you to open your mind for a second.
So I'm not that good at this, as you know.
I need you to repeat after me. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Tom Brady is the GOAT.
Where we're going. You always just try to troll me with all of these things. Yeah, I mean, it was.
All right, how about this? Tom Brady is the most accomplished quarterback of all time.
Yeah, in regards to team accomplishments, yes. Yeah, there's no. I mean,
I'm letting you off the hook. I'm letting you off the hook. So.
Yeah, in regards to team accomplishments, that's great. I mean, but that's why this is such a silly argument, and I'll never understand it because Joe Montana has much more team accomplishments than basically any other quarterback. But was he a great quarterback? No. Joe Namath won a Super Bowl. Dan Marino didn't. Well, who's a better quarterback? I mean,
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, you can go on and on and on and on with stuff like that. The Super Bowls it's a team game. He's one of 20, something players. Again, he's a very important player, absolutely, and he should be given due credit for playing, well for many years. And I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's certainly very good, but I just wouldn't put him in the upper echelon of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks that I've ever seen. He's probably there 3 or 4 somewhere.
Got to fix your glasses.
He's very good, but
just kidding.
Very good, but whether I put him ahead of Brett Favre, I'm not sure, but certainly I have Mahomes and Manning as better quarterbacks, and I don't honestly in regards to looking at the skill and playing the position and moving your team. I don't think it's all that arguable. I really don't. Now, again, as you said, in regards to team accomplishments, that's how much weight do you put, for a team accomplishment? I don't put very, very little weight on it, and other people put all of the weight on it. So I guess it depends on how you're evaluating, certainly.
All right. Well, I may be off base here, and I'm just going to use another guy I like, and I just see what 12 can do and what this guy, I guess, hasn't been able to do. Russell Wilson, in the beginning of his career, he was blessed with one of the best defenses in history, and Marshawn Lynch, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And now that doesn't exist anymore, it seems like with lesser pieces, he's not able to do it. I feel like Tom Brady's been able to do it with lesser pieces in previous seasons. And that's not the be-all, end-all. Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, I'm making my point. Case in point, Brady's GOAT. I just feel like Brady's the type of guy that can do more with less. And I feel like you can argue Peyton Manning's one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, but I feel like he had a lot of weapons to his disposal in that spot. It seemed like in the playoff runs early, something went wrong.
I don't know. Weapons are what you make of them. Reggie Wayne would he have been a great receiver anywhere else? I don't think there's no way. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't know. He was a 29th pick. I mean, it wasn't like he was this, big time guy coming out of college. I don't know. I mean, Marvin
he's the 29th pick versus Julian Edelman and Wes Welker, who were I don't know what number those they were, but
wherever they were, right?
Yeah, wherever they went. I mean, And then you have Peyton Manning, number 1 overall, versus Tom Brady. I believe he was 199. It just I don't.
In regards to where they were chosen, yes, Brady. Over, but that's not the argument, though. We're talking about quarterbacks.
I'm just trying to throw anything at you that make you change your mind.
Russell Wilson was the MVP leader through the first 8 weeks of the season. Let's not forget that either. Is that he had 8 incredibly great weeks to start. Now they did fade a little bit down the stretch. How much of that was Russell? How much was the really bad play calling in a few games? Again, we can make an argument here and there, but. Certainly, I mean, I wouldn't put Russell Wilson up to the same, caliber as, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a better quarterback, in my opinion. So I agree with you that without, having as many weapons or having a, really strong running game, like he's had in the past with Marshawn Lynch, yeah, he's certainly not as good of a quarterback, not a guy I would want. Leading my team into the playoffs compared to Tom Brady. I would rather have Brady. Sure. I mean, I agree. And Brady's a really, really, really smart player, too. He makes a lot of really, really good decisions with the ball. He understands the game and situations better than, almost everybody, too. He's intangibly, he's really, really good. So, yeah, no, I I can't argue any of that. I mean, again, I'd have him as, my third or fourth best quarterback I've ever seen. So it's not like I have him low. I have him very high. It's just.
Well, and that's the thing. The greatest of all time means so many. Like, I'm not a big basketball fan, but the Jordan LeBron debate, is it just them? I mean, there's other guys. There's other people who will come in with Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell. It's just like you're right. I mean, the GOAT of all time because he has 7 rings. There is the Joe Montana who never lost a Super Bowl, and then there's Peyton Manning who basically was his own offensive coordinator for so many years.
Right.
So
there's a lot more players on the field though in football than there are in basketball. Basketball, I do weigh championships a little bit more because again, we're talking about a finite amount of players, and one player does mean a lot more.
Hey, fair enough. I just going to see if maybe I could get you to say it. So.
No worries. Yeah, it's always good to put forth the effort. Yes, absolutely.
We are the Vegas Squares here, sponsored by the 12-Ounce Sports Network, where you can catch us every week in video and audio format. Please check us out and all the shows at 12ozsportsnetwork.com. You can catch us on Spotify. Just search 12-Ounce Sports. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts. Just search 12-Ounce Sports. You can catch us at 12-Ounce Sports Network, and you can also catch us on YouTube. Search Vegas Squares Podcast. It's all the way to find us. And our sponsors page at lvsquares.com. I'm going to read out the sponsors later on in the show. If you're watching on YouTube, they're going to scroll on the bottom of the screen. We do have Todd Dewey, sports betting reporter from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I think we had a very good conversation with him, Tony, about just everything that's going on with COVID, with Super Bowl betting, and just we kind of went through his – kind of stepped into his world in regards to what he does and how he gets that information from sports books out to us betting nerds.
I thought it was great. Yeah. And it's nice to hear, a very regular, seemingly very honest perspective. Todd is not a guy that's going to, blow, steam, up your ass. He seems like a very straight shooter. And it's good to hear, somebody just really tell it like it is, which is quite refreshing because we don't always get that sometimes, with people in the media. So, yeah, no, I thought it was really nice to hear, and and sometimes you get his level of frustration too, when he's not able to get the information that he wants because a PR department is just going to give you this, and you can't actually talk to anybody, and I could see how that would be very frustrating, especially when you're backed up on a deadline or you have 2 weeks
trying to be first,
right? You have 2 weeks to fill, before a Super Bowl, and you want to get something new each day, and yeah, I could see how that would be tough and frustrating, but. No, he seems like he's got a nice perspective, certainly on the entire industry. No question.
Yeah, most definitely. So you're going to hear that later on the podcast. Many thanks to Todd Dewey for joining us. How'd your betting go with the Super Bowl? How did you do?
It was quite good, I must say. Now I think I had mentioned in the podcast that I bet about 1/8 to 1/10 of my normal amount, or at least it was significantly less. I wasn't sure how much less it would be than I had in the past couple of seasons. But the net was significantly higher than I've ever had. That was due to a couple of really nice wins. We did get the Gronk first touchdown.
Yes, you did. Kudos.
Nice. Yeah, that was the biggest one of the day. So that was really good. And then. The biggest player prop bet, and I really only bet 2 total. I really only did bet the 2 that I talked about in the show, but the biggest one by far was Mahomes over rushing yards. So that came in, 8 minutes into the game. That was fantastic.
I tailed you on that one. I appreciate it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. And then, I thought those were skilled. That was really nice. I did a really nice job handicapping. And then we got the lucky one with Antoine Winfield getting the interception at plus 800.
You had that one too? I took that one.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, that was very nice. So, it just it worked out nicely. All the way around, and then there were a couple others, thrown in there with some of the silly ones, but and there were certainly a few losses. But it was really quite nice. And again, I stayed away from the side and total, so I didn't really have anything going there. But I did make a small halftime bet on Tampa Bay plus 7.5. So I have no complaints. It was a fantastic Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it just as a person who roots for the Bucs, Tom Brady, and everything, if my teams aren't in it, I agree with you. I want action. I want excitement. I want a close back and forth game, much like the 49ers Ravens one we had. Things like that. Like, if it's my team, it went exactly how I wanted it to.
I'd say, yeah, no, I mean, as Todd said, I didn't want to interrupt him when he had brought this up, but he was like, "Oh, it was a really boring game," and I was like, "Not for Tampa Bay fans. It was a great game." That was my first thought. I was like, "That game wasn't boring for them. I'm sure that was fantastic. That's perfect."
You know what? Now that I'm looking back on it, I kind of wanted to ask him, especially him being from Massachusetts, being a Boston guy, being a Tom Brady guy. I'll ask you, like, I don't know if you saw the video of Tom Brady just pissed drunk.
I did see. I was watching on NFL Network actually that day. Yes.
I loved everything about that, and he got some heat from douchebags or whatever.
Of course, and
I'm
can't
sure
do anything. In this
I'm sure he'll get heat from Spike's dad as well.
Of course.
But it just personified to me because, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember any of the 6 Super Bowl parades. Gronk spiking beers and everything and everything. But I don't remember ever Tom Brady being on the floats that were just getting wild and partying. And he always personified Patriot Way, even during the celebratory times. This one just seemed like 21 years of being Mr. Patriot and the face, and just to watch him stumble. I loved it. I was like, dude, the guy finally got his day off.
I felt the exact same thing. It felt like it was almost a weight was lifted off his shoulder. You could just finally relax and let it all go. And yeah, when he reared back and threw that Lombardi trophy from
even that too. Yeah,
that was fantastic. So I enjoyed it. I thought there could have been a big issue. I was watching it with a friend, in Colorado. We were watching the same thing. He's like, all these boats are so close together and everyone seems very drunk. This could not end well. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming professional people are driving the boats, but it was. I felt like there were. Again, I'm not a boatsman. I've never lived on water, as you know, but it really felt like there was a lot of vessels in a very small area. As someone who grew up in that area, the alcohol may probably have not been good for the combination. Sure.
But from what I understand, some of those boats were police vessels, and they were kind of making sure. And the thing is the boats mostly that weren't a part of the parade, I believe, because I have a buddy who runs a fishing charter over there, and he had a bunch of Facebook posts, and I was talking to him about it. The boats that weren't a part of the parade had to be anchored down.
Oh, okay. Oh, that helps. That's gonna help.
So they weren't. I mean, other than natural floating with the current,
but
they're not zipping around and interfering with the parade. So.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
And then that same buddy, another buddy that I grew up with, went on the boat with him and actually threw a pass to Antonio Brown, and Antonio threw it back. So I thought that was pretty
nice.
Cool. I saw that on his Facebook, what do you call it, story, I guess, or whatever. But it would have been cool to be down there. I mean, especially in Tampa, because you've had 2 boat parades in the last, I don't know, when did the Lightning win? What was that, October or so? So I'm sure they're celebrating that. So Spike texted us this in the beginning of the week, and you and I were quick, and we talked to Todd about it as well. But the Super Bowl streaker, and claiming to put $50K on a bet offshore with Bovada. It looks like Bovada has quickly debunked this guy that said that basically there's $1,000 betting limit on the prop. If you don't know about this, which how could you not? It's literally, you can Google Super Bowl streaker and it's in every news outlet everywhere. But basically the Super Bowl streaker that you saw, well, I guess you didn't see unless you looked on social media. You didn't see him on CBS, but allegedly placed a $50,000 bet at plus 750 on would there be a streaker in the Super Bowl. And I guess based on this social media post that went viral, Bovada obviously saw that and has debunked his claim, because he is claiming Yuri, blah, 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 whatever his name is, has claimed that he has won $375,000, and Bovada has now decided to not pay anything to him other than his original wager back, as well as all of his buddies that they can actually confirm made the bets with him. So who's telling the truth? It's got to be Bovada, right? I mean, nobody's taking $50K on a vanity prop.
Yeah, that's that point for sure. I agree with you there. But yeah, I would expect that the majority of the truth, at least, would certainly be Bovada. I mean, I don't think. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a net loser, at least, on that prop or something like that, if they were really, going to have to pay out a decent chunk, but certainly not anywhere near in that. They just would never allow themselves to have the liability. There's absolutely no reason to. And one of the great points that I thought Todd brought up, and, I've thought about a little bit too, is there's no reason for any of these books to have it when you have 400 different, bets. You have so much action that can be bet that, get some equal action, win the juice, on the majority of these things and just go on your merry way. And if you get a fortunate spot like, Kansas City not scoring touchdowns or whatever, then you're going to, be a windfall. But there's just no reason to have that kind of liability at all. Like that would be a risk management nightmare, and in these, like Bovada is a good example. That's a really big book that has a lot of, really smart people that are, handling these types of decisions, and they're not going to leave themselves hanging out to dry. So that's my only take. And then, having done this a few times in a much smaller scale, certainly, but, you're just never getting that much money down all at once with the same number. He might have had one, a few dollars at plus 750, but then you're going to have to bet plus 500 or plus 300 or whatever, however it maneuvers. And it's just
right. Yeah, once you bet 1,000, that thing's moving. That's what you're saying.
Moving a lot, because if they take a limit bet on one of those silly entertainment props, it moves immediately and usually a lot. Again, something I have seen happen before.
I was going to say, do you have experience with this?
I do. So yeah, there was a situation on an unnamed offshore book that had the singing props, not for the halftime show, and it was Justin Timberlake, and so I knew what the first song would be, and I knew how all the songs that would be sung, the whole what do you call it, the playlist, and so they had a couple of different props on that, and that my limits weren't that high on this site anyway, unfortunately, but once I hit my limit, which was 200 on the first song, the line moved 250 points down, from plus 600 to plus 350, and then my limit was all of a sudden 100. And it just, they move accordingly. So, I don't know. Do that, and they may have that same information that I had.
I was wondering if they have the set list. Yeah.
They very well might. But if they're going to get, 50 other people are going to bet, $20 to $50, on any other different song or whatever the case is, they're betting for fun, it may well be worth it for them. And, Todd brought up another good point of it's a great PR move too. They can talk about how, they have all these different type of bets and how, entertaining it is and things like that. So yeah, it's a tough thing to do. Again, I had a few other people that were betting it as well, but to coordinate all of it together, and it's hard. It's really hard to do. It's just, yeah.
Well, it's not that hard when it's not true. So
right. Yeah. There you go. So yes.
All right. Last point before we take a quick commercial break. On the other side, we'll be talking to sports betting reporter from Las Vegas Review Journal, Todd Dewey. The Tyrann Mathieu exchange with Tom Brady. After the game, Tyrann Mathieu said that Tom Brady said something that he can't repeat, which, I mean, we all remember the Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph debacle. I can't imagine, and I will say this by revealing I was reading an article that Michael Irvin somehow got access to the audio to say that Tom Brady did not use any racial slurs towards Tyrann Mathieu. And you know what? Tyrann Mathieu has a plausible deniability to say, well, that's not where I was leaning. But in today's era, I thought that was really shitty of Mathieu to say Tom Brady said something or called me something that I can't repeat. I mean, we know, you and I know, and everybody else would know, well, that's probably leaning towards a racial slur. And, I mean, not to defend Tom Brady if he did say something like that, but, I mean, come on, 20 years in the league, and you think now you think you've got him, and you got your journalism.
No, I never believed that for a second, and it was unfortunate wording, or maybe he just made a mistake with how he worded it, or it was intentional. Either way, I thought it was shitty on his behalf. But no, I'm laughing because we all saw the exchanges, whatever, and it's nice to see. Again, this is one of the things I like about Tom Brady. It's nice to see a quarterback that was willing to stick his nose in there and is willing to just give shit to anyone, for any reason. And yeah, I don't doubt that he said some probably pretty mean things to Matthew. I'm sure non-racially motivated, was probably just really bad things about him or his, whatever the case is. But, how often does that stuff go on in the football field? That's commonplace, right? Yeah, exactly. It just happens to be that, the face of the NFL for the last 20 years and, a darling quarterback is saying it to, somebody that makes, headlines. But if Tyrann Mathieu says that, to somebody else himself, like that doesn't move the needle, nor should it move the needle. So like, I don't, that's just the way the game goes. And I thought it was quite entertaining. And I don't know. I didn't like how he worded it either, Aaron.
Yeah.
I thought the exact same thing. I didn't like that either. I didn't like that at all.
Well, and Irvin, I went on the Rich Eisen show and basically said, I didn't like that Tyrann Mathieu put it out like that, the way he said it.
Yeah.
Because I said, come on now, it makes it sound as if you know exactly what I'm saying, as if he said the N-word, and he did not. I have access to the on-field audio based on him working for Showtimes inside the NFL. So I don't like the fact that Tyrann Mathieu he goes on to say, I don't like that he said that. He needs to clean up somewhere. And Tyrann Mathieu, like I said, it's after the Super Bowl. We got on Cam Newton for, remember, the famous
That's true.
pouting session.
That's true.
I just thought it was such a low blow. But now I think we got to know. I want to know what Tom Brady said.
Oh, yeah.
That triggered Tyrann Mathieu so much. Because Tyrann Mathieu is the king of shit talking on the field.
Yeah. Oh,
So what did Tom Brady, this goofy little white guy, say to you that literally, like...
But he's not little. He's much bigger than Tyrann Mathieu.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. I meant like this scrawny guy.
Yes.
He's actually not scrawny anymore, but we all know the famous draft photo. But what did Tom Brady say to you that hurt your butt so much that you had to talk about it in the off field? And basically Tyrann Mathieu said, he called me something I won't repeat. Yeah, I'll let the media throw me under the bus as if I did something or said something to him. I'm pretty sure you said something to him after you had the interception that was negated by the holding penalty. I can't remember the exact sequence of events, but I mean, Tyrann Mathieu has what do you call that? Has been served a dose of his own medicine.
Yeah, there's words exchanged, and both people said things. Yeah, and again, maybe Brady was harsher than Mathieu. I don't doubt that. In fact, I'm sure that's probably true.
And that's what I want to know. I'm like, what does Tom Brady, Mr. Football, say?
Yeah.
Like obviously when he goes up to a press conference, he's always says the right thing, does the right thing, and he's just, I can just see him turn around after that touchdown, like, fuck your mother.
Yeah, no, I think it was probably something in that realm. That's kind of what I'm expecting as well. Yes. Which is
when he goes low, I go lower.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just, and maybe the whole thing is Mathieu was it was so unexpected. My guess is he just assumed that that's not.
That Tom would just walk back to the other side.
Yeah, or he would just kind of say, general type of trash talking stuff, but that he didn't maybe realize that Tom is, he's an intense dude, and he will say and do what needs to be done in the game, and it's part of the game. Football is different than a lot of other sports. This stuff, as you said, Aaron, it's every other play. It's commonplace. So I hated how he worded it. I don't know why it was even a deal, why it was even a thing anyway, because again, this stuff happens all the time, and it is what it is. It's part of the game. So I see nothing more than that.
Yeah, I mean, and I just thought, like you said, the way I'll give Tyrann Mathieu the benefit of the doubt, but just the way you word that in today's society is just wrong. Unless he actually called it to you. It's the same with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett comes up with this, the claims of Mason Rudolph calling me an N-word 4 days later or whatever it was. I mean, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, that one's really bad because he actually said that he said it, and we're 98% sure it didn't happen, especially after hearing audio, which I know it has been heard, and it's that's terrible. I mean, that's terrible stuff. I'm surprised there hasn't been any sort of legality spot. That
What do you
Mason
call
kind of
that?
let it
Slander?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a huge deal. But yeah.
Well, and that's the thing.
worse.
I'm looking at Tyrann Mathieu's statement now, and remember I said the "fuck your mother" comment, which it couldn't have been that because his statement verbatim says he called me something I won't repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he called him honey badger.
No.
So
No. Yeah, it would be good to know. I agree. It would be entertained. It would certainly. I would be entertained.
I gotta imagine we're gonna get this. Someone's gonna get this because Inside the NFL has the audio. Now it's up to the Inside the NFL on Showtime. I beg you, I plead you, Showtime.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get it.
Let's get this.
I agree. I'm an interested observer. There's no question. I don't usually get into these things, but I would like to know this one.
I'm curious if this even, depending on what he said or what he called him, this might make Tom Brady's swagger go into the.
I was going to say it'll elevate him. It will. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. This is only going to be good for him. I think I don't see how this could be bad.
The thing is, it can be both good for him and bad for Mathieu because if Tom Brady says something like uber dorky, like you lit liquor douchebag or whatever, and then Tyrann Mathieu somehow got offended by this 5th grade insult, I can't wait. Hopefully that comes out sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. Let 12-ounce sports pay some bills. On the other side, again, like I mentioned before, we are going to have Todd Dewey, sports betting reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, talk about all things Vegas sports books and Super Bowl 55. So stick with us. Couple of minutes. We'll be right back on the other side.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done. We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. But challenges are what motivate us. Like flying masks to our employees around the world. We're doing everything we can to get you what you need, and doing everything we can to keep our people safe. I'm former Navy pilot Sarah Rhodes, and I'm proud to lead our Amazon Air network.
All right, and we are joined by Todd Dewey, the sports betting reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal here on the Vegas Squares. Todd, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We know that you had quite a busy week last week with everything going on in the Super Bowl festivities.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. Tony, I know that you and I both didn't predict the way that the outcome of Super Bowl 55. But Todd, I know that you're a little more in tune with everything going on, both from a sharp, a square, a sports book, and everything. But be honest, from an NFL fan perspective, what were your thoughts on how that Super Bowl played out?
Well, it was a pretty boring game, really. I mean, just from a fan perspective. But full disclosure, I'm a diehard Boston fan. I was born and raised in New England and, love all the Boston sports. And, of course, like you guys or anyone else in Vegas, really your favorite teams, whoever you have a bet on.
It's true.
But, I still love all the Boston teams. And even though Brady went to Tampa Bay, me and my buddies I grew up with, we were still rooting for him and Gronk. And actually had a futures ticket on Tampa Bay, put down back in April, so that worked out nice. And but from a pure fan perspective, I mean, that was Brady's never been involved in a blowout with the Pats. The biggest beating the Rams by 10 was the most lopsided Super Bowl he'd been in. They're all like 3-point games,
close games. You're right.
Or the 8-point loss to the Eagles. So that was really the only first blowout I've ever been a part of, and that would have been the last one I would have predicted would have been a blowout because, I mean, my head was telling me that the Chiefs are going to win that game maybe in a row, really. I was glad they didn't, like I said. But from a fan's perspective, yeah, it was like a boring game, really, where Chiefs didn't even get in the end zone. And sure, the books made out. Well, I know that they did make out on all the props, when it's a low-scoring game. That's always good for the books and not as good for the bettors.
Yeah, especially, and Tony, you and I talked about it, how a lot of that action went under and the line still went down. That was kind of the crazy thing to you and I when we were looking at it, that, we thought, everybody, the scoring, Mahomes, we were talking about his touchdown props and everything, but Super Bowl betting, with the pandemic and everything, it was in Nevada the lowest since 2016, which is kind of I would say to be expected with everything going on in the world, but also the 5th highest ever. What were the feeling of some of the sportsbook directors this year, Todd, with the pandemic and the lack of tourism and, on the strip, off the strip, downtown, this new circa and everything? We looked at all the books, but what was the feeling that you got from these guys? Were they, a sense of nervousness, or, that the amount that was coming in? What was the feeling from them? What were they expecting, I guess? Expect the unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, well, beforehand, they didn't expect it to hit a record or to match last year's total, just simply because of the pandemic, just simply as Vegas relies on tourists so much to boost. Super Bowl is such a big tourist event. Most of the action comes from the public on that event. So, you couldn't ask for a better matchup with Mahomes versus Brady, like the baby goat versus the old goat. And, the matchup, couldn't ask for a better one for the handle, but just with the restrictions in the casinos themselves, 25% capacity, all the big parties that Vegas usually has for tourists was going to be down, and all the foot traffic would be down. More people use the app now, but basically during the season, they set a record for handle still. I think mostly because of the mobile app and everything, but with the Super Bowl relying so much on tourism, they just couldn't match last year's handle with that one. Right after the game, a couple of the books, like at Stations and Westgate, said they were pretty close to last year's handle, and Stations, there was a little uptick in handle. So right after the game, they kind of had a thought maybe they would match last year, be a record. 5 of the 6 reported $1 million plus bets around the country were here in Nevada, so they still get the big bets, and so yeah, they didn't think it would set a record. And then when it didn't, I spoke with William Hill, sportsbook director Nick Bogdanovich, and he just said he was convinced, like, if it wasn't for COVID, they definitely would have broke a record. Everyone still wants to come here for the big parties. Vegas is still such a destination spot, so he thought it would have broke a record. Just came down to the COVID, knocked it out.
And more to that point, Todd, out of curiosity, I had a friend or a couple friends that were at Westgate, on the night of watching. They're there pretty much every year, and they said that it felt like almost a regular type of night in regards to how many people there were there. Maybe a little bit of a heavier crowd, but the type of crowd almost seemed like, and the type of person seemed very, very different. Almost mostly out of town. A well-dressed crowd is what I kept hearing. And so maybe were there possibly maybe just
I guess we
large
fit in there.
No, we would not have made it. That's correct.
It's not good.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we don't even make it through the door. But were there maybe a higher percentage of larger wagers maybe this year compared to maybe some other years of why, while the numbers were down, they were certainly, for the amount of people that were actually inside the book, was significantly less. So I would have expected, less of a volume.
Less people, more money.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the average bet and all that. It's kind of hard to say, but it sounds that way. There were less people than normal, a lot less people than normal. It was almost the same handle, really, when it came down to it. I know during the regular season, I speak with the guys at BetMGM or MGM Resorts books every week. Jeff Stoneback over at the Mirage, and he said they had more 6-figure bets this year than ever before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He didn't really know why. He was just taking a guess that maybe the people coming to town, they weren't dropping, few hundred, 500, 1,000, going to clubs and shows. And maybe that money made their way into the sports book. That was just his theory, But yeah, maybe you're right. the corporate crowd putting down the big bets.
Yeah.
And then think about that, less options. They're fighting for the dollar. They're going to spend the money somewhere. You're right. The clubs are closed. The restaurants are all, restricted. I didn't think about that. But Todd, take us, the common man, because we're, Tony and I are fascinated by this stuff. Take us into a week, the Super Bowl week in your life, getting all this information, because obviously it is one of the biggest, if not March Madness, one of the biggest weeks of betting here. Sports books are always busy. Maybe not this year, like Tony alluded to, but take us. I know you're not driving everywhere. So with technology now, do you even drive at all, or do you just get everything just digitally enhanced, or do you still, make the rounds? How does that all work, as a sports book or sports betting reporter?
Well, yeah, in a normal time, I'd be out at the books a lot, and, March Madness, kind of get hunkered down. The guys at the Westgate have been nice enough to kind of put me in the VIP area and where the horse racing is, and give me a little, chair and desk in there, so you kind of have a little island in the middle of all the madness. And I would just set up there and get my computer and just write from there. But during the pandemic, I've mostly been working from home, and just make a lot of phone calls. Like, since I've been covering this for a few years now, I have most of all the contacts, just about all the contacts of all the different sports book directors and different risk managers and other people that work at the books. And they're really a great bunch of people to work with. I'll just text people and just see when they might have a second to talk. And they're usually good about getting back to me. And so I'll just, do some interviews over the phone with a few different people and, write up stuff from there, do my own research to go along with it. And now with so many companies and so many different books out there, they have their own PR people too. So they'll send you emails with, a breakdown of, Michael Grodsky's the PR guy for William Hill, and they'll send you the top 10 bets by tickets, by money, and how the odds have gone up and down. And then BetMGM has PR people too, and they'll send you, some $1 million bet comes out, or, obviously there's a lot of competition even there with ESPN, VSiN covers, and all kinds of, everyone's kind of writing about this stuff now. So you want to try to be the first, of course, and, whenever you talk to these people, see if they have anything that just came in. You might get lucky and, we just took $1 million bet. But other times you might get an email on it or just see something on Twitter and you call to confirm it yourself. But, yeah, just keeping working your sources and the network of people and keeping in touch with everybody. And, and also just trying to come up with different angles. They wanted us to do an update on the point spread every day online and come up with some type of Super Bowl betting story every day. So
it's tough for 2 weeks, I would assume, right? To have something new.
Yeah, it's amazing though. Like, even during this pandemic, the Review Journal hired another sports betting reporter, Jim Barnes, my colleague, and then started at the beginning of last year. And then we, the pandemic hit and there's no sports going on. And so, he's writing a guide to Russian table tennis, betting on Russian table tennis. And I'm writing on bets on, Japanese sumo wrestling, and just, there just kept being different things that would pop up. Or you get different characters. Like, there was a guy that bet big on Tampa Bay. He predicted, I don't know if you saw him. He predicted, that Brady was going to go to Tampa Bay, bet a bunch of money on that he would go to Tampa Bay, and also bet a bunch of money on the Tampa Bay at long odds beforehand that they'd win it all. And, do a story on a guy like that, or like Mattress Mac, you might have heard of, the Houston furniture store owner. So there's always seems to be something that pops up, and, yeah, you just try to track these people down, and usually they're pretty good about it.
Yeah, Mattress Mac, as a guy who seemed, before the Tampa Bay bet, seemed, in my opinion, to be kind of almost a mush to the better, to the guys, to the teams he bet. I didn't feel great about me having a Super Bowl ticket on the Bucs and now him having a Super Bowl ticket on the Bucs. So that didn't feel really great. But it sounds like, like you said, in the age of PR and social media, they come to you. So that's even better. That's That's incredible. But yeah, being the first to break a story has got to always be the challenging, thing with VSiN covers, et cetera, like you were saying. But the one question I had, and we talked about this, Tony, is, some angles the books won, some angles the books lost. We talked about futures bets, the props. You talked about, was there any specific bet off the top of your head and any specific book where one book had just so much massive lean one way that they were literally sweating a one way? Obviously the sports books are trying to, create equal action, but was there one off the top, but I don't know, Jimmy Vaccaro or Bogdanovich or any of these guys told you like, hey, we're really rooting for X to happen?
Well, I know just a couple of weeks before the game that Tampa Bay was the biggest liability for a couple books. Like William Hill was 6 figures, and at MGM was like $1 million, over $1 million. I mean, they weren't really sweating like they used to joke back in the night to Golden Knights for a season. That was a big totaling up like close to 10 mil or something. I forget exactly the amount, but that was some big bucks they were going to end up paying out if they won the Stanley Cup in their first year. And I remember Nick Bogdanovich making a joke like, if they make the Stanley Cup, we lose big, and if they win it, we close. So,
wow.
But there wasn't. I know they had liability on the Bucks, but they were able to mitigate that a bit along the way by adjusting lines. So there wasn't anything. And there's so much. The props account for over 50% of the action on the Super Bowl now, and so it's kind of hard for them to lose. I think when it comes down to it.
That's fair, yeah.
With so much stuff going on.
On top of all the Super Bowl futures that don't come in on all 31 teams that aren't named Tampa Bay. So you talked about BetMGM and the issue. They had some issues, on Sunday. And they weren't the only one, but in Nevada, they're the most recognizable. What have you heard, regarding that? I know that they issued an apology. I can just speak from experience. I had issues. I think it was a Conor McGregor fight I was trying to get down on. And William Hill kind of crapped the bed. And to make it up, they sent a $100 betting credit, I believe. I don't know as to everybody, but I got one. Have you heard anything, any plans to make up anything from MGM? Or have you heard any plans that they take any action regarding that? Because, Conor McGregor UFC fight, not trying to compare apples to oranges with William Hill and BetMGM, but a Conor McGregor UFC fight, $100 betting credit. We're talking about Super Bowl 55 here.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything. I don't know. I heard about that, shortly after the game started that they were down and, reached out to MGM for comments and, got that statement. And yeah, I know that there was a few different books, like I think DraftKings had issues too, FanDuel.
Barstool Sports, Pen App or whatever, yeah.
Quite a few across the country.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of just indicative maybe of just so many people now betting, and there's so much on those on the mobile apps now that it's just kind of I was trying to think of what someone compared it to, but
the Robin Hood when that went down,
something like that. Just when you just overload and kind of just growing pains, really. That maybe they just weren't prepared for so much. I never did get an official word on what caused the glitch at BetMGM, but I don't know. It might have saved people a bunch of money on in play and halftime bets on Kansas City to make a comeback. But no, I know it must have been really a rough spot for people in town, maybe that even wanted to cash their bets after the game and couldn't because it was still down. And, I don't know. It's just one of those things that happens. I'm sure they wanted to be up for the entire game. It's the last thing they wanted to happen on the biggest sports betting day of the year.
Of course.
I haven't heard anything, though, about them, giving out credits or anything like that. I did hear, shortly after 9:30 on Super Bowl night, I think they had all the mobile app bets squared away, and then they stayed open late and open early. I got to tell you, honestly, just by myself, I was seeing all the other states that open up. They offer all these great promotions.
Well, that's where I was going to go next is the FanDuel, the refunding, and all the crazy marketing they do.
It's just that's a brand new state, and it's like the Wild West, just trying to get all the customers. And so they're offering all kinds of, every place offers all these bonuses and incentives to get people to sign up. Yeah, because I was wondering that myself, where I saw, because on one of those emails I got from the PR, it was like bet $1 on the money line on either team, you get $100, or bet $1 on Brady, and if he throws a touchdown pass, you get $100. Or it was like, a $600 free bet, risk-free bet. If you lost it, if you win it, you win it, and if you lost it, they give you like $500 bet credits. But then I looked into it, and it's not available here, just other states. It was like, hey, what the heck, What about us? But I guess, they're planning to offer some promotions out here. I don't know if that has to do with maybe because it's more of a tourism place. Everyone fly to town and get the app and cash in on the thing and then go home. Or I don't know what the thinking is, honestly. But, I haven't heard anything about if they're going to try to make up in some way.
One quick thing, Todd, about your past point about how we don't really even know what happened with MGM. They didn't really release anything, and I was kind of curious about that myself, because that late that night and then into Monday morning, almost the majority of mainstream media sources, all the big guys like ESPN and such, there was almost no information about this anywhere. And my take, and again, I've kind of struggled with this, I'll admit, for a while now, being a very serious bettor myself, is the relationship between the sports books and the mainstream media, and how all of this massive advertising dollars and how it might affect the product and what's the narrative almost that's being taken, being put out there. And again, I'm not trying to rain on a parade here or anything like that, but to me, this should have been much bigger news. To me, there were people in Pennsylvania, they were down for a lot, and that's a state with a really, really large handle, very comparable to Nevada. How do you feel about that? And how much, almost seeming like the sports books can control sort of the news that comes out and all the almost lack of negativity. Because these mainstream sites, they want to keep those advertising dollars coming in.
I don't know. I mean, all I could do, like as a reporter, all you could do is reach out to your sources at the place and then request. We were trying to find out what happened, and then they just send you a statement. And unless you have someone inside there or willing to tell you what happened, it's kind of hard to find out exactly what happened, really. I mean, you're kind of at their mercy sometimes of what they're going to tell you.
Yeah, and especially a company like BetMGM. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they've got partnerships with the NBA, the NHL. Caesars is with ESPN, et cetera. So I get what you're saying, Tony. I mean, the advertising dollars, you have to protect the narrative in that spot. So, it's going to be like in Todd's case, he got what he could get, and what they were offering, which was the prepared statement, and that's kind of what it is. And I think MGM's probably going to do we're going to just keep quiet until everyone forgets, because the Super Bowl's over now. And I mean, I think a week later we'll all kind of be moving on to the next big thing. It's the news cycle.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like you said, if they could do something, some gesture of goodwill to bettors, that would be something they could do. But besides that, it's probably not any big mystery. Like, it was overloaded.
Yeah, I mean,
some computer thing went down, and it was just terrible that happened during the Super Bowl for the bettors, for them. But I don't know what else it could be, really.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just as mad. Like you said, most squares are going to be firing KC to come back in the second half, so they missed out on taking money too. The reason I suggested, something like that is because of past experience, and, we talked about the FanDuels and all of the other markets offering these things. It almost, I've seen on social media, it almost becomes expected now from the other states. So Nevada,
and I think that might be one of the reasons that some of the books don't do it out here, because then they'll be like, anything that happens, people are going to be, hey, there was a bad beat, give me my money back.
Yeah, that's fair. So got to maintain some shred of the old.
But I'm with you. I mean, I think the same way. Like when that pass post controversy happened, where all those people bet on Korean baseball late at night.
Brutal. Yeah,
that was remember brutal. That? And,
yes.
And the games had already started, so by the book's perspective, these guys are cheating. By the bettor's perspective, hey, you're offering that bet, I'm just going to take advantage of it.
Same with that Broncos Raiders game that the guy bet in New Jersey that the glitch in play offered him like 10,000 to 1 odds, and he took it. You know?
And then so the book ended up paying him, and then issuing a bunch of credits as a goodwill gesture. In this case, they didn't, and they went to gaming, and gaming decided with the book. So I guess it could go either way.
Yeah, and I can respect the maintaining the in Nevada not getting into this foray of refunding and bad beat, oh my bad, but just this one, we have, like you said, William Hill, Caesars, MGM, stations, et cetera. I can go on, South Point. So just, when you just don't want to have that sour taste is my thing, with MGM. You don't want to start thinking about. Of course. So that was my thought.
I agree with you, and as guys like ourselves, a common man, we're like, these guys make so much money, and then they always win. What's it to them to just give everybody money? But when you talk to the other side, where I'm talking to the books, they're like, well, we don't have that much money, It's not like even now, governments out there are just saying it's all free money to have sports betting. They hold they'll tell you that they keep 5% of all the bets, and it's not really that much when it comes down to it, so I see both sides of my spot.
There's quite a bit of overhead in this state too, with all these massive land-based casinos and these big sports books. Like that's compared to, Prairie Meadows in Iowa, whatever, they just don't have a lot of overhead. It's a big difference.
And if it's just a mobile app, you don't have really any overhead. And,
for sure.
Yeah, they always say that it's an amenity to the casino, and it's not like a big money maker. It's just part of it. So.
Yeah, and according to your numbers that we got from one of your articles in the Review Journal, 136.1 million wagered this year, and only a $12.5 million win across all sports books. So do the math there. So
still a pretty good hold.
9.2% was good. Yeah,
but like you said, how many sports books do we have in Nevada? Or Las Vegas?
182, I think.
I think you said something along those. So divide what's that? 80,000 a piece. If you divided it evenly, So
yeah.
So all right, let's go offshore for a second, because I'm sure that you've read this article about the streaker, and Tony and I have we just don't believe any of it. So,
that's a good description. Yes.
So this guy Yuri, I don't even want to give him the satisfaction. His name's Yuri. He claims that he laid $50K on this bet. Bovada is debunking, saying that they have 1K limits on these. You just what are your thoughts on this whole thing? I know that you don't don't get with the offshore accounts, but he was my first thought is, if he actually did win this money, just shut up until you actually get the money.
Yeah. Oh, well, when I first heard about it, I thought, there's no way, zero chance this could be true, that a guy bet $50,000 to win $375,000 or whatever it was. And, when it, because, just, covering the offshore books, as you mentioned, they have low limits. Most of these things are more publicity. To get publicity, they'll throw out these crazy props and odds just to get some publicity for the book, but they don't really take much. And as I mentioned, Jim Barnes, he wrote a story on this for our paper, and he spoke with the people at Bovada, and they did say that there were betting irregularities, and it went from plus 750 for yes down to plus 175, so that there was action on the yes. And but the limit is $1,000, and they didn't tell us how much they took on it. They didn't get into those details. So, I guess theoretically it's possible that the guy, told a bunch of people to get down and he was going to do it. But I couldn't see them taking that much money on something like that.
Something would look fishy. And 50 people, all from the same general, area in Florida, betting $1,000 on.
All betting the limit on the yes. Yeah. So. But my first thought is maybe they were just looking for publicity. The book, even now, saying they're refunding them all. I really don't think this guy got down 50 grand on this thing.
And that number is not going to be. He didn't get 50K at plus 750. That number is going to move, as you said. It went from 750 to 120. Because I've done some of this, offshore betting where you have a good idea of an entertainment.
You're talking about streaking.
Yeah, no, not streaking. Not for a while, Todd.
KFC still open?
Those days.
KFC still open? I couldn't help but think of Frank the Tank.
Oh, of course.
Through the quad.
We're streaking to the quad. His wife is driving alongside. Good stuff.
Cold out there tonight. I'm Frank.
Nice. That's awesome. Wow, I haven't seen that film in a while.
I haven't either. That's a good one.
That's great. Good stuff. But no, I remember getting, you get a chunk at like plus 600, and then you get another chunk at plus 500 and 450, and it's just this grind because they'll let you bet X amount, here, and then until the line moves, you can't bet more, and it's just it's a back and forth.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
None of this makes any sense. And as you said, Todd, it correctly said, I can very much say the limits are very low on these things. Again, maybe a novice bettor might have a limit of $1,000, but anyone with any sort of steam at all is not going to have $1,000 limit on an entertainment property. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and if you know the guy, like you said, if the guy did do it, the last thing you do is brag about it. Like, I fixed it and set it all up, right?
Yeah, wait till you get the money if you actually did get this. Even if you only had $1,000 bet on it, wait till you get the money. Because even if you had $1,000 at $750, makes a few grand. What's bail? A few $100, trespassing charge. He still walks out of there with $5 grand or more. So just keep your mouth shut for a few weeks, and then you can come out. I don't know. I know
it's social media though. It's crazy. I saw the one guy posted that picture of the guy he just met at a bar, and it was $1,000 bill. And like
it's incredible.
Probably the majority of the public's running around. Yeah, the guy won 300 grand, and that will be the story forever, right? Like they think it really happened. I don't.
Yeah, I was really shocked at how when I was kind of looking at it and Googled it, it's running like wildfire now. But unfortunately. Do you think this is the end of props like those offshore? I know that we don't have them here, in the U.S., but do you think that's the end of these things? Because these books, like you said, this guy could have bet the 1,000 and ran, or you think they're still going to throw out these vanity props?
Yeah, they'll keep doing them, I'm sure. I'm sure they're happy that they got the publicity for refunding them,
Yeah, we talked about publicity. Come on, BetMGM. It's your turn. So, well, Todd, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and kind of giving two sports betting nerds some insight on what goes down with the biggest game.
The fellow UCF grads, Aaron, anytime.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hopefully March Madness will be kind to the Vegas landscape this year. We'll see what happens. I know that if it even happens, we didn't even have one last year. So,
is there any word on that, Todd, from some of these spots that you've talked to? Are they planning, having more of a regular type of March Madness, or are things going to be toned down still?
I guess it comes down to the governor.
That's true.
They were hoping he'd increase the capacity from 25% to 50%, would even have helped the handout for the Super Bowl. So it kind of just comes down to the restrictions from the state.
Gotcha.
But they want to.
Of course, yeah.
No doubt they want to. Yes.
Yeah, I hope for all our sakes, Vegas gets back to being Vegas.
100% agree. So. All right, Todd, again, we appreciate you taking the time. You can find him, sports betting reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, on social media at T Dewey, Dewey 33 on Twitter. Todd, again, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Go Knights.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Todd Dewey, sports betting reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We appreciate him coming aboard and joining us for a few minutes to talk all things Super Bowl 55 and all things sports book, especially in the time of COVID. It's still interesting to see that despite the fact that the handle was down, it's still the 5th highest ever, which means,
amazing.
Like you said, sports books, even though they're popping up all over the country, still Las Vegas took in $136 million this year just on one game is incredibly nuts. What were your thoughts just on Todd? I've known Todd 2 years now. And it's just it's a good guy. He always has a nice thing to say. But you've never met him.
I had not met him. So this was a really nice thing. And I follow him on Twitter, and I have since, and I moved out here. And Not that I don't get a chance to read, a lot of his articles on the Las Vegas Review Journal, but certainly he's got a lot of takes on, things, and he's also pointed me in the other direction of other people, because he likes and retweets certain things. So yeah, I've learned quite a bit in that regard, and I do know a few people that do know him a little bit, you included, and I've heard the exact same things, from them. It's basically top to bottom that he's a straight shooter. And just seems to be one of the good guys, in the industry and in the business, that gets kind of shady at times. And he certainly doesn't seem that way. So yeah, no, I thought it was really good. And it was finally good to get a chance, to meet him, even in a virtual sense. It's better than nothing, certainly.
Yeah. And I like despite being a guy in the media, if he doesn't know something, he doesn't try to blow smoke up your ass like you talked about. He's like, I don't know.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
All right, well, we can close the book on the 2020-2021 NFL season. As COVID crazy as it was, we got through it. We got every game played, maybe not on the day it was supposed to be played, yeah. I mean, what were your thoughts? I mean, in the beginning of the year, we talked about it. We had to put stipulations on our Vegas Squares contest, just in case. Did you put a percentage chance on it that you thought we'd get through this season?
Ooh. Yeah, that the full season would be played, I thought that was less than 50% for sure. Wow. I would have said 40 or so that the full season gets played. Now I would have assumed that they might have cut out some games or a week or two, or whatever. We still would have gotten to the playoffs and they would have figured it out in some sense. They're not going to not have a Super Bowl, but.
Did you think we'd have the Super Bowl on the day we were supposed to have the Super Bowl?
Yeah, exactly. That was a very unlikely scenario, in my opinion, before the season started. Right. I would have thought it would have been delayed, or it would have been different in some regard. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it all happened. Relatively, and to be honest with you, and this goes to all the sports, maybe there's a lot of luck involved. I'm sure this is probably more luck than anything else, but the fact that there hasn't, nobody has died from, I don't think, in the sporting world, which is
players or just anybody.
Anybody. I don't. From what I haven't heard any of the personnel or any of trainers or anything like this. Like, obviously, everyone, there's so much exposure, and while the majority of these people are going to be on the very high health realm, which helps, but still, anything can happen.
Still a chance, yeah,
of course. So. I'm surprised by that. That all it took was, someone in intensive care, and who knows how the NFL, would have reacted or how it would have gone down. But so maybe some luck involved too. But I'm pretty impressed with how they were able to get through the season. Not in any sort of bubbling sense, like a lot of the other major sports, were able to do. And, I guess how golf has really kept it very closed for the most part, for only really essential people. But, yeah, I'm surprised, Aaron. I really am.
Yeah, that's fair. Like you said, we weren't 100% sure we'd be playing this whole season or be playing the Super Bowl on the day the Super Bowl was supposed to be played. So, all right, let's turn the page here and look at earlier. There's already been 2 bets here in Vegas on the Bucks to repeat. They are 8-1 in some spots around that. There have already been 2 5-figure bets on them to repeats.
Really?
From what I've seen, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But as the resident futures guy, I want you to kind of maybe preview the 2021-2022 NFL season, at least in the futures market, in your what you've been looking at.
Yeah, so I won't actually make any bets until they pretty much finalize the schedule, which I believe they will do before the draft. Like, I'm very much willing to make a future bet before the draft, because again, the draft doesn't put a lot of merit into
who's going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah,
exactly. It might have a little bit of effect on a season win type of thing, or divisions or something like that. But I do want to see schedule. For the schedule is very important. Yeah, we know the teams that they're going to play, but where they actually fall. Yeah, it's huge. But doesn't mean you still can't get a little head start and look and like usual. Not necessarily this is always the way it is, but I have kind of gravitated a little bit more towards the bottom of the barrel here, the basement dwellers, if we will. And
shout out Token.
Yep. I think there's some intriguing teams here, down towards the bottom. So the couple that I have written down, and this is really weird because I was so anti this team this year, and they thankfully cashed the under for me in season wins. But the Denver Broncos here at 75-1, at a few places. And again, depending on, what happens after the schedule comes out, this could very well go down from there. I think 75 is probably, the bottom here. You could certainly find maybe 100 at some point as the days go on, because I don't see this as a team that people are running out to bet on per se. But, we've seen how, Josh Allen and the strides he was able to make in Buffalo. And again, I'm not a huge fan of Drew Lock, and not that I was a fan of, Josh Allen either, but and he doesn't even have to make the big strides like Allen does. But I think it's just incremental. If he incrementally gets better, at reducing the amount of interceptions and being able to throw the ball away and making better decisions and being a little more accurate, I think incrementally, if he can get a little bit better, this team is poised to win some games here. This is still a strong defense. They're still in pretty good, contractual situation. They're going to be able to spend some money this offseason. I don't really like Vic Fangio in this sort of spot to necessarily win a Super Bowl. So I don't know if I'll actually get there on the future side of that. But, if they get a decent number to win the division, potentially, you never know what can happen. If Kansas City gets a big hangover here after this game or Mahomes injury.
I was going to say Mahomes injury. Yeah.
Sure.
Token loves the Mahomes injury.
He does, yes. So, that's an intriguing one there. I want to see where Denver kind of shakes out. If we can get a really nice price for the division, that might be worth something. And then, I know this is going to sound kind of weird, and it's tough to back a team when you don't really know what's happening, with the quarterback position. But if we do get a good idea in Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow is going to be ready to go by the start of the season, again, I think it's a team that they have a lot of maneuverability around the salary cap. I think they have at least 30, 40 million to play with. I thought the defense got better this year, especially in those first 6 or 7 weeks. When Burrow went down, I really felt like that whole team kind of tanked a little bit, and that's not a good thing to be seeing. I'm not saying that should or shouldn't happen, but I really thought this team was a lot better when Burrow was healthy, and they actually did play relatively decent defense. So I think you have some nice, good bones there, really on both sides of the ball. Add to the fact that it's a quarterback that looked quite good early on in his career, with a coach with something to prove. Certainly, will be playing, for his extending his contract. There's no question about that. This is a big, year for him. I don't know. I think Cincinnati at 125-1, 140-1 here, and another spot offshore. I think makes some sense to just look at a little bit. So those are the two teams that I found just right away. I've already kind of gotten a little bit of an idea with.
Yeah, right on. So you go. You got some long shots. Some, what do you call them? Basement dwellers.
The basement dwellers. Yes.
Yeah. So
great.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. Obviously, I want to thank the sponsors here. Obviously, first and foremost, the one who puts us on and puts up with all of us, 12-Ounce Sports, where you can catch us in audio and video. We are on Spotify, search 12-Ounce Sports. We are on Apple Podcasts, search 12-Ounce Sports. We are on YouTube, search Vegas Squares Podcast. And we are also available at 12OunceSportsNetwork.com. While you're there, visit the store to get everything from coffee mugs, beach towels, golf polos, and so much more. Our two title sponsors, Fanatics.com and ViceGolf.com. We are sponsor affiliates. Please go to lvsquares.com, click the affiliate links that are located there on our sponsorship page. And when you shop for your sports fan or golf fan at Fanatics or Vice, please make sure you use those links so it can help out the channel, help out the podcast. The HEATR bet tracking app, so you can focus on real-time, real in-play scoring and track your bets with the HEATR bet tracking app. Download today on your iPhone, Android coming soon. And ProAm Customizations. Message Kevin at ProAm Customs on Instagram to get started today. The only limit on your customized club is your imagination. Tony, put a bow on the 2021 season. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are champions. Tom Brady's the GOAT.
I knew you were going with that one too. Yeah, no, it was. I thought it was quite an entertaining year, and again, ever since week 2 or 3, I think I had mentioned this on one of our early podcasts. I was impressed with the quality of football overall. We really didn't get those games with massive penalties and the bad turnovers back and forth. Yeah, of course, there's always a few thrown in there here and there, but I thought the quality was really good for lack of training camp, lack of preseason. Very impressive. The product continues to get better as the years go on the field. It's fun to watch. A lot of these great young players. I think there's a great core group of quarterbacks, and certainly a lot of other players too associated with it. But it's not just, even after Tom is said and done, whether it's after next season or years after. The game's in a good place, with a lot of really good signal callers. And so, I'm, as always, I say this every year, but it's quite fun. I was never the biggest NFL fan, maybe 6-7 years ago, but it seems like every year, as it goes on and on, I seem to learn more about the game, understand it more, and get more excited about it. So it was a good season. My best season to date, wins and losses against the spread. So I'll take that because that's always been the toughest spot. Obviously, is picking those games against the spread. Certainly. So I didn't bet nearly as much as I had last year. Again, I was not unknown with the whole virus thing, and I waited so long with some of these things because you just didn't know who was available, who wasn't. But
right.
Yeah, it was certainly getting better at the handicapping aspect of it, and enjoying the game more and more. So I'd say a very successful season, top to bottom.
Well, if you can do that with all the restrictions in place in the NFL, so hopefully that can make you a better when there's no restrictions in the NFL.
Let's hope. Yeah, time will tell. We'll see, but I hope you're right.
Yeah, and Tom Brady once said he's going to play till 45, and then the other day I think he said we'll see. So.
I mean, who can doubt him at this point? So, no question.
So, all right. Well, for Tony Johnson, I am Aaron. We appreciate you guys listening. Catch us on Twitter at Vegas Squares. Check out our website, lvsquares.com. And again, I mentioned all the places you can find us. Please listen to us. Check us out. Give us a like on YouTube. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one. We are out.